I was visiting family in South America 13 years ago. I met one of my cousin's kids for the first time. The young woman had just had her third kid and had been left by her boyfriend. He was the father of only the latest kid. She looked so worn down and sad. When I got back home, I spoke with my wife, and she agreed that if his family was okay with it, we would adopt her youngest kid. It was an offer, not a demand, and we made sure to explain that we would help her out monetarily with the other two as well. I was adopted similarly, so I've always wanted to pay it forward. My adoptive parents are also related to my biological parents, and they helped them with money too. Well, it became a huge deal. I was trying to steal a kid just because I had money and blah, blah, blah. So I said no problem and walked away from the offer. Well, that baby is a young teen now, and his mother had 2 more kids. She's being supported by her mom, but not doing great. Her 2 eldest kids are working and going to school, but the teen is a bit of a jerk, I guess, skipping school and hanging out with the wrong people. My family contacted me to see if I could help him by bringing him up here. I passed. There's a big difference between a baby and a young teen troublemaker. Plus, I'm 50 now, and I don't have the energy to deal with that crap, so I declined. My family down there is upset with me for going back on my offer, so I offered to pay his expenses down there if any of them would take him in. Nobody thought that was a good deal. I feel bad for the kid. I have a fairly good idea of how his life's going to go. I just don't think that I'm the person to fix this problem. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They declined, and now that the kid is problematic, they want you to take their child, as a teen, away from his family? Well, they're honestly some messed up parents. You didn't go back on your offer. They rejected your offer. That was the end of the offer by their choice. Offering to pay expenses is far more than most people would do in this situation. End of discussion. Not only did the offer expire, but it expired because they were accusing him of trying to steal a child. So they obviously didn't look at it as a generous and kind offer of adoption, but as a threat. But since the kid is a pain, it's now okay for OP to steal him? Talk about insult on top of insult. First the accusation of being a wealthy moron, now accusations of being an idiot and a coward. The mental gymnastics your family plays, when convenient, are astounding. Stay firm. Against the grain and sure to be unpopular, but you are the idiot. So yeah, even though your cousin seemed tired and sad, it was an idiot move to approach her about giving up her baby to you as a way for you to pay your own adoption forward. Sorry, but being surprised by your cousin's reaction to such a huge, life-altering request like that is a bit naive at best. I think that kind of proposal would offend a lot of people. It doesn't make someone an idiot to refuse to give up their baby to a perfect stranger. Exactly. You are the idiot. Your cousin just gave birth. It's a very vulnerable and difficult time. Her boyfriend left her, which made things definitely worse. Of course she wasn't doing that well. If you were genuinely trying to help her, why didn't you ask, hey, is there something I can help you with? Why didn't you offer to buy some supplies for her or give her money? Your help will cost your cousin her baby. I disagree. OP said they're from South America. I'm from Central America. An adoption from a relative living in North America, Australia, or Europe is common, especially when the young mother keeps giving birth to different men. The adopted person usually knows the truth and is willing to help the siblings who stay behind, often adopting a niece or a nephew later on. The story isn't about a lot of people. It's about OP and their family culture within their greater cultural environment. I, 33 female, have a friend, Max, 34 male, who's a single dad to Ava, a young grammar school-age female. Ava's mom is not in the picture and gave full custody and rights to Max before she was even born. I agreed to help out Max with Ava and am very involved in her life. I will admit, I used to like Max, which is mainly why I agreed, but it was just a crush, and I got over it pretty soon after, but still helped out with Ava. I get on very well with Ava, and she calls me aunt. Since then, I got a more demanding job and have a fiance who I moved in with. His place is far from Max's, and I find it harder to meet up with Ava, but I still try my best to see her. Now I'm pregnant, and my pregnancy is high risk. My fiance and I agreed that I would take time off until the baby was born and would think about going back later. I currently work freelance and pick and choose what projects to take on. I told Max for the time being, I'd like to reduce how often I see Ava, as I can't keep up with her in my condition. Max tried to negotiate to drop off Ava at mine, but my fiance and I firmly said no. He works long hours, and I can't be there for her one-to-one. Max and I still share the same friend group, so I will see Ava sometimes socially, so it's not like I've cut her out of my life. Max is calling me the idiot for not helping look after Ava and saying that I'm essentially abandoning her, and I've put him in the situation of explaining this to her. I feel bad for not being able to be around Ava as much, but I currently have very little energy and have stuck to my decision. Not the idiot for wanting to prioritize your family. However, I feel like you should explain this to Ava yourself. I don't care for Max. You had a crush, you moved on, and your priorities changed accordingly. That's okay. However, the girl sees you as part of her family almost, and she was used to hanging out with you. If you stop it so suddenly, she'll be heartbroken and bewildered. So at least talk with her about it and assure her you still love her, etc. I think that would be in place, unless you don't really love her in the first place and didn't take the whole thing just as a chore from the beginning. Imagine if a dude came on here and basically said, I became a huge part of a child's life because I was crushing on their mom and thought it would be a good way into her pants. Anyway, now it doesn't suit my lifestyle, so I've noped out of the situation. And the mom is all mad. I just can't help but feel that everyone would be calling them a monster, or at the very least, they definitely wouldn't be attacking the single mom. The issue is she shouldn't have started that in the first place. There's always something that could happen, but becoming an influence on a child's life because you want to get with their parent will drop them way low on priorities. It was low-key kind of sleazy, OP. I disagree. Max sure is an idiot. He can't drop her off. So he's telling her, you abandon her? Why can't he come over with his daughter to help out and show her what a good supportive friend does? She isn't your child. It sounds like he was using you as a babysitter/substitute parent. He then tried to guilt you into going back on your statement. Agree. Why isn't he supporting OP in her time of need when she helped him out in his time of need? Time for Max to hand down baby clothes and help OP and fiance shop for cribs and car seats. Time for Max to come over with a drill and help fiance tether the furniture and install child locks. Instead, what is he doing? Demanding free childcare? Probably because he knew about the crush and used it to get a free babysitter. I think I might be dramatic, so I'm here for judgment. My fiance, Josh, 28 male, and I, 26 female, have been together for 5 years, engaged for 3. He has a little brother, James, 24, who's been with his girlfriend, Sally, for 2 years. We have a great relationship with my fiance's brother and his girlfriend. We've been there for them through their rough patches and have been overall supportive of their relationship. Even though they live a 10-plus hour drive away, we stay in touch weekly and sometimes daily. We visit them at least once a year, and they've never come to visit us, but they live in a fun beach town, so we never complain about a tropical weekend trip. Haha. Sent birthday gifts and Christmas gifts without getting anything in return, but my love language is gift giving. So as long as they were happy with their gifts, I was happy. They're doing great to the point that James has a ring and plans to propose soon. A little backstory. A few years back, we went to visit them and stayed in this beautiful hotel and wedding venue. We both fell in love, but there was no way we could afford it at the time. Back to the main story. As you can tell, we got engaged pretty young, and we didn't feel ready to get married at the time. Honestly, I'm not big on weddings, but my fiance wants one, so we agreed on a smaller affair to celebrate. Since we had decided to wait a few years, about 5 months ago, we decided to take a shot at the venue we dreamed of, and it turns out we can afford it. We can afford it on our own, but our loving families are chipping in, so we're totally within budget and over the moon. 5 years and we're finally getting married. We've been keeping Sally and James in the loop this entire time, since it's in their hometown, asking for advice on vendors and just overall excited chatting about it. We locked down a date on Monday last week and had to pay the $1,000 deposit by tomorrow. I held off confirming the date was good with my family since my cousin has a wedding scheduled 3 weeks after ours. We plan to pay it today after I got the blessing. Yesterday, my fiancé got a phone call from his dad asking if he had spoken to James recently. His dad further explains that James, who has not proposed to his girlfriend yet, decided to book the same venue the weekend before our wedding. To say I'm upset is an understatement. We've been talking to them for months about our progress. They had never once shown interest in this location. Frankly, I could care less that it's at the same place. The weekend before is just a slap in the face. I don't think I can bring myself to forgive them, let alone attend. Am I the idiot for not wanting to go to brother-in-law's wedding? Edit. Only brother-in-law and future sister-in-law live in the town the venue's located in. It's a 5+ hour drive for the closest family member. Everyone else is a 10+ hour drive or flight away. There would be no way to attend both. I would love to ask them what they were thinking, but now they've been ducking our calls. Clearly mature enough for marriage. Not the idiot. Who books a venue when they aren't even engaged yet? That's a really crappy thing for them to do. I assume when you've said you've told them everything, you mean the location, the date, etc. If so, they absolutely, without a doubt, did it to upset both of you and did so on purpose. And now they're avoiding contact? This is proof they knew exactly what they were doing. Otherwise, they'd be on their knees, apologizing for not thinking straight and trying to resolve the issue. If I were you, now book the venue for the weekend before theirs. Two can play that game. The only idiots here are your brother-in-law and his girlfriend. How ridiculous of them to do this. And you mentioned it was a destination wedding, so your financial family could only attend one. Oh boy, they purposely did it. Good luck, and wait until the baby wars start. My 38 female sister, Lauren, 42, had a pretty wild youth. I did too, so no judgment on my part. When Lauren was 18, she got pregnant and chose to end it. This was her wake-up call. She went to college, later got a great job, and found her husband. They had a daughter, Roxy, who's now nearly adult. Roxy is a very studious and responsible young woman, but this is undoubtedly about how hard her parents are on her. Lauren has said several times that she doesn't want Roxy to end up like her. I understand, but I've also told her she can't be so hard on her. Let her make her mistakes and guide her through them versus yelling. Roxy found out she was pregnant in March. Lauren and her husband reacted horribly. I have a daughter of similar age, and I know I wouldn't be thrilled either. However, Lauren and her husband took it too far, in my opinion. They shamed her and told her she was a disgrace. They said even if she got an abortion or gave the baby up for adoption, they found her irresponsible and didn't want her around. They kicked her out. Roxy's boyfriend's parents did the same. The two are now living with my family. This has been incredibly hard on Roxy. She plans on raising the baby, but keeps saying she feels like a failure. I never knew how truly bad Lauren was, but she's always called Roxy horrible names and made her feel like she wasn't good enough. I finally told Roxy all about her mom's past and that Lauren had no right to talk. I prefaced this by saying that this isn't what made Lauren a bad person, and I won't shame her, but using it as Lauren has, there's no moral high ground. Roxy called Lauren and called her out on her hypocrisy. My extended family's mad at me. Most aren't happy with Lauren, but say it wasn't my place to spread her business. Apparently, her husband didn't know about her past either, and is calling her a liar, etc. My parents and other family members say I should have shut my mouth. Not the idiot. Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. My God, how awful for your niece. Thankfully, she has you to support her in her choices. Regardless of their final decision, this is a hard place for anyone to be. For her mother to be so horrible, especially having gone through something similar herself, is truly awful. Good for you for sharing her mother's story. Normally, I would say not your place, but in this specific instance, it feels necessary to help your niece. Right? No one is perfect, and failures, mistakes, and accidents are often where the most learning comes from. So if you can share your experiences with your kids, age appropriate, it can be a great bridge in many ways. You hit the nail on the head, though. The mother's reaction to her daughter's situation is so horrifying, as she experienced the same thing. And then she lied to her husband about it. The hypocrisy makes my heart hurt. I, 40 male, have been married to my wife, 41, for 14 years. We had a barbecue over the weekend, and in preparing for guests to arrive, my wife was getting snippy at me with digs here and there. This is pretty normal, and I try not to let it bother me. Anyway, after 5 minutes of her challenging my intelligence, I told her that she should put her money where her mouth is and challenge me to an IQ test if she really wanted to show how dumb I was. I know full well that I would beat her, and she knows it as well. She dodged the offer, but then told my son, Tween, that when my wife and I first met, she was earning double the amount of money that I was. I asked how she made twice the amount that I was, and she replied that she was renting 4 houses out to students. I then asked her how she could afford to buy those 4 houses. She told me that her mother gave her the money to buy them. I then pointed out that she'd not actually made any money that wasn't based on a gift or had been given to her, and that the only reason she could afford the capital was that it was given to her. She had not had to work to build up some startup capital of her own at all. I've worked all my life, and apart from a little help to buy my first car, I've had no handouts from my parents or family. My wife, on the other hand, has never actually done a day's employed work in her life. She receives a monthly income from a trust, and she couldn't be bothered to manage her rental properties, so she sold them, although she still has one that's been vacant for about 4 years. I've never mentioned this to her before or used it as ammo in 14 years of marriage, but it really made me angry that she was talking to my son about it like she was some super wonder businesswoman. She told me I was an idiot, and I felt like an idiot. So am I? Good God, do you guys even like each other? Your wife sounds awful, and you sound bitter. Everyone's the idiot here. This poor kid is stuck in the middle of her parents' marriage. OP, for the sake of your child, file for divorce. Either she'll get over her pettiness and agree to marriage counseling, or she'll accept so quickly it'll make your head spin. You're still young enough to start over, but let her know you've had enough of her digs. I'm bitter, perhaps. I'm just tired in all honesty. I never resented her for what she had or her upbringing. Recently, it just seems that whatever I do, she pounces on me and drags me over the coals for it. The problem is, she's already said that she wants full custody of the kids and can afford any legal team she wants. I love my kids to bits, and I couldn't bear to see them once every few weeks. At this time, I can't risk it. Before you assume the absolute worst situation, 1, don't take your opponent's legal advice and speak to an attorney. 2, do some research. 3, figure out who you need. Presumably, a serious custody bulldog attorney. But you need real legal advice, not Google advice. You need an attorney who knows your local custody laws and the local judges to actually tell you what's realistic. Yeah, maybe she'd end up with full custody, or perhaps not, and you're putting yourself and your kids through this nightmare because you're scared. Quietly gather information, and if you opt to stay, learn not to drag your kids into your fights. This nastiness towards each other is hurting your child.